Hi, welcome to this vlog and podcast from ZP. I did actually just do this vlog and podcast a few minutes ago, but I've really felt the internet connection was just, for some reason, was really up and down. To be frank, we do like to do this webinar live, so I just kind of thought, all right, well, we'll do it again anyway. Just a quick comment that at ZP, we do these Quara services, which is quality assurance and regulatory assurance, and it really helps us, not helps us, but it really helps our clients get to market. And so we just put a little strategic note out there this week, actually, around the idea of using a cholesterol sensor in order to help get regulatory approval. Cholesterol sensor might not be the technology you're interested in, but actually there are so many predicative cholesterol sensors on the market that it can really help you get something to the market. And you think, well, I'm not really interested in cholesterol. No, well, getting to market's important. Getting that kind of FDA badge of approval on your hardware, at least, is super useful. And therefore, I would argue that actually a cholesterol sensor is a pretty good way of doing it. So that was just a note that we did put out there this week, just giving people a hint as to one way of getting to market. At ZP, we do make a cortisol sensor. We like it. We intended it for kind of stress monitoring, performance monitoring. But then you sometimes get inquiries, and you discover something new every day. And if you're open-minded, I'm sure people are. And what we discover is actually there's a sort of a rare disease called Cushing's disease. And there, measuring the cortisol level is an indicator of the disease, and also could be used to help guide. I think Cushing's disease is a chronic disease, but it could at least help guide people to sort of control the disease and live with the disease. So I'm sorry for the disease, but it's nice to know that the cortisol sensor that we have could be part of that solution. Every Thursday at 8 a.m. London time, we do a webinar. So last week, or the week that's just finished, we did do a webinar. We covered a limit of detection of screen printed electrodes. And I realized that now over the years, that limit of detection on an assay, especially at a point of care assay, is very linked to repeatability of manufacturing. If you've got a very controlled manufacturing process, that can really help with your limit of detection. But if you have a lot of variability on your manufacturing process, then that can really impact your limit of detection. So limit of detection is really important, and people do ask us a lot about it. At ZP, we do make a whole range of gold screen printed electrodes. We've got long-time collaborators, and I was able to kind of look at their work this week, and then able to comment upon some people's data on gold electrodes during the webinar as well. And we also were asked about glucose and lactate monitoring in a non-invasive manner, which is something that's at ZP we're really quite skilled at as well. So we did cover that in the this week. We're also holding a free webinar with our good collaborators in India called Technando. So Technando is our distributor in India, and we are holding a webinar specifically for India on the 9th of August. And so there's a registration link if people want to sign up for that as well on the website. So it's the 9th of August. Something else as well, I've always been very interested in new applications for electrochemistry. So, electrochemistry is used a lot to measure analytes, but can we also just use it more broadly to actually do authentication? And so we did try some work where we were trying to authenticate a fake whiskey from a genuine whiskey, and we were able to use this sort of electrochemical spectrum, or you can call it a voltammogram, but people sometimes wonder what voltammograms are. So if you call them a spectrum, sometimes helps with chemists understand. We were able to use that to actually give a fingerprint to a whiskey and say that's a whiskey, or that was actually essentially a fake whiskey. A technology that we've had for quite a long time, but it recently became sort of pertinent again, was actually we were able to print backside heaters on our sensors. A lot of the applications we do are room temperature. Room temperature is just so much more convenient, but sometimes an assay may require there to be some sort of heat, or to rerun at a higher temperature. And there's a very neat way of doing it, which is to actually have a heater very integrated on the sensor, and we can do that through essentially printing techniques. So we did put a bit of a note up there this week around that. We've also got the EMA potentiostat. I mean, I'm super excited by the EMA potentiostat. It offers 6 channels. Like anything in life, somebody just asked me, well, can I have it in 8 channels? It's like, no, it's just 6 at the moment. I'm sorry. So we are doing 6 channels, 6-channel potentiostat. And one of the things that we really want to take care of with EMA is actually that connection between your electrochemical cell and EMA. And there's all sorts of different connectors and cabling required. So we did sort of put a bit of a note out on that. And I think we want to make EMA a bit more special by actually taking care of that stuff. It's just not well taken care of, cabling and connectors in electrochemistry. It's such an important part of the signal, but I would almost suggest it's the most overlooked part of the signal. So we did work on that, or we did put some notes out regarding that. Don't forget that we do have our Scandinavia Sensor Summit. We're calling it S3 these days. This is, for us, is very important because we did align a long time ago with the UN sustainability goals, good health, clean water, and in some ways you can actually help the state of the planet also by just making sure that industry runs more efficiently. And if you want to make things run more efficiently, you have to measure them. If you can measure it, then you've got some way of basically improving things. But if you're not measuring it, you certainly can't improve it. I mean, that's a philosophy at ZP, but that is just the first thing that any government or environmental agency or something, if they want to improve something, they want to measure it. In the UK, we have the Office of National Statistics, which tries to measure things so that government can run the economy and society better, let's say. But diverging slightly, or digressing, but at ZP, we also believe in measuring things. We're having our Scandinavia Sensor Summit, and it's really all around measuring, but not just being restricted to healthcare, being much more broader than that, and not being restricted to electrochemical biosensors either. We are much going to be much more broad on that during the workshop as well. We're also lucky because we do have our Norwegian facilities that we are able to participate in Horizon 2020 projects. These are, I think, Horizon 2020 projects are kind of one of the envies to the world, let's say, that that these are really good projects that run across Europe, and we are able to participate in them, and we're working on embedding electronics into the human body. In this case, we're doing it to help with prosthetics, but it's also worth saying that you can also use this gets you into a technology called electrotherapeutics or electroceuticals, which I know GSK and Google are collaborating on as well. Don't forget, every Thursday, 8 a.m. London time, we do our webinar answering technical questions that come in from the week. So we do that 8 a.m. London time, and that will be happening this week as well. And the questions essentially are already coming in for that. So we will be answering. We will be doing the webinar, I should say, on Thursday at 8 a.m. London time. We've also got Julie. Julie is for us, it's a world-class data management system specifically for electrochemistry. It can receive all sorts of electrochemical data from impedance, potentiometry, amperometry, voltammetry. We have a freemium version, and we also have a premium version. The big difference being one is free, one is not free. But we just wanted to put a table out there to kind of help people understand the difference between the two. So we did put a table together, and we are going to have a webinar actually on Julie. And I haven't linked it here, but the webinar is happening in August. But every time somebody signs up now, we're going to invite them to a webinar so that people can really get a good start on this. ZP is also, one of our sites is very near the campus at Warwick University. There's a science park at Warwick University. Really an excellent campus, to be frank, and really an excellent university. They are world class at Warwick, and they have a biomedical engineering department. And ZP was invited to give a talk there this week, so I'm happy to give a talk. and it was definitely well received. So thank you to them. Um, this is really linked to that S3 earlier on. So S3 is this kind of Scandinavia Census Summit that ZP is holding when we're really trying to sort of digitize the world. And one of the most, I wouldn't say invasive, but one of the most important elements in our planet is actually nitrogen. I think it makes up about 78% of the atmosphere. It's super important to all life on the planet. And so nitrogen is everywhere. But in order to kind of fix some of the global problems of pollution, you have to probably measure nitrogen. And it comes in different speciations. You can have ammonia, you can have hydroxylamine, you can have nitrite. And so at ZP, we do have technology to both identify the speciation of nitrogen in a sample and also to quantify it as well. So that's definitely something that we've been talking about this week as well. And then just finally, sensors for blood gas analysis. So at the moment, if you have a blood draw in a hospital or a blood draw at a doctor's, it will end up on probably what's called a blood gas analyzer. At ZP, we do have the largest range of blood gas analyzers, or sensors, I should say, rather, for blood gas analyzers on the planet. We have pH sensors, calcium, sodium, potassium, chloride, partial pressure of oxygen. You also need to measure the partial pressure of CO2, and we also have glucose sensors as well. So we just put a note together around this. But also we had to sort of emphasize in the note that it's not enough to just get a sensor off somebody like ZP. It really has to be integrated properly into your technology stack. And so when people ask the question, well, what's the accuracy of your sensor? Well, the performance of our sensor depends on how you place that sensor into your blood gas analyzer. So we did cover that in a note this week as well. So I will wrap it up there. This was actually the second version of this vlog. As I say, I wasn't satisfied with the first version. We seem to have a really bad internet connection, but I've been keeping an eye on the internet, and I seem to have a green light all the way this time. So we quickly redid it. Okay, if you've got any questions on ZP, don't hesitate to reach out to us. And we will do this vlog and podcast next week and just wrap up the news next week. Okay, and don't forget we have our ZP Developer Zone webinar every Thursday at 8 a.m. London time. Okay, thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.